Hi everyone, it's a non-dog walking day, so you get to see me in an office, not with my mad hat and dog walking clothes. I've got real clothes. Honestly, I do own some. So today what I want to talk about very, very quickly, because I know you're all super busy and got loads of things going on, is being realistic. And I think it's one of the things when we first go into our businesses, we're probably not as realistic as we could be, and then we've set the bar here for what we can achieve, and the reality is here, so we constantly feel disappointed, or that we haven't done enough, or that we're behind, it's not going as fast as we wanted. Whereas what I think we should do is set the bar here. And I know when I set up my first business in 2005, I was like, oh, it's simple. I'd get 5 students a month and it will look like this. And then by a year later, it would be 10 students a month and it'll look like this. And of course, the reality was very, very different. And, you know, the students come sometimes and they didn't others. The cost was still the same, etc. So I think I was just not realistic. And the second thing I was not realistic about, so the amount of money, the consistency of money, the amount of clients, students that I would get wasn't realistic for starting into a space where I had no visibility, no audience, and no way to get in front of everyone. So that was hard. So that was my first issue with being realistic. And I think the second issue with being realistic is how much I could do as one individual person. And I think this is probably one of the main causes of burnout for most women. And I do hear that coming up a lot, and something that I've definitely been through. I often talk about my 2017, 2018 was absolutely my burnout years. It was just the absolute pit, and I would never ever get myself in a situation where I felt the way I did at that point in the business, where I had this runaway life, runaway business, runaway emotions, runaway health. Everything was just definitely not in my control. And so I think what we can do as an employee when we work for someone else, we're like, yeah, I can do this amount of work and I'm going to work my way through my list, and I go home and I come back in. And then we start our own businesses and think we're going to be this superhero woman who's going to take on the world, and I'm going to do everything at triple speed. And that's just not reality. It's not reality, one, because we're often, well, we are just a normal person trying to do what one can in a day. But secondly, we're often doing things that are completely new to us, that we're not trained to do, whether that's marketing or finance for you, or sales calls. You know, when you're learning any new skill, it takes you a really, really long time to do it. And if you were working for a company, you'd go through a training program, you'd have a proper person teaching you. You wouldn't be on YouTube trying to work it out for yourself and then being frustrated that you haven't, you know, launched this thing beautifully or any of those things. So I think that's our second issue with being realistic. So as I say, the first is setting the bar so high that we constantly feel like we failed and that we're not doing enough. And I think we need to set the bar differently. And the second is just being really realistic about your own energy, your own resources, and how long it takes you to do all the things. And just be kind about those things. Like, be realistic. Have that conversation with yourself as if you were the boss talking to an employee. Would you really expect all this to be done and all that amount to be done? And it just tends to be untenable. So we've set ourselves too high a bar, and we constantly feel that we're letting ourselves down, letting whoever's, you know, supported us through this journey, etc. Whereas in reality, what we're doing is going about a business that's typical, that's expected, that is of that time. So that's my thoughts on being realistic. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about, probably on a dog walk, talk about the money element of being realistic in those first couple of years, and how I feel about that. So I hope it's been helpful, and I hope it was nice seeing me out of my dog walking gear. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.